traders, what's going on? It's Relentless here, and welcome back to another Relentless driving video. So today, right, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about hidden buyers and hidden sellers. So today was wildcard Friday. It was a decent day in the markets, and during the stream I asked you guys what topics you might want to hear in the next Relentless driving segment. And so we'll talk about hidden buyers and hidden sellers, as that was called out. And so let's start off with hidden sellers. How do you recognize a hidden seller? What do you do when there's a hidden seller, right? How do you approach this kind of a thing in the market? And so just for starters, right, a hidden seller is when there's an order out to sell shares on the ask that is disguised. And for an example, we'll say, hey, I'm looking to sell 100,000 shares, but I'm gonna put the order out on the ask as if I'm trying to sell 1,000 shares, or maybe even 100 shares. And so I'm lying about the amount of shares that I'm trying to sell to not have a negative impact on the market. That's why it's used. It's actually used so that that there isn't a negative impact on the market. Hidden sellers are actually used. Hidden positions rather are actually used to not scare the market, right? If you want to get out with a big size and you don't want people to panic sell, you don't want to reveal the amount of shares you're trying to sell, that's one way to go about doing it, right? A hidden order, a hidden position. So how do you know if there is a hidden seller? If we are at a current price point, let's say $6, if we're at $6 on the ask, $5.99 on the bids, and we're seeing people buying at the ask price, so buying at $6, and we're not seeing the break through $6, then we know there's a problem. So if the order is saying, hey, there's 1,000 shares to sell at $6, but let's say we bought up over 20,000 shares or more, let's say even me, I'm hitting the long button thinking the breakout's gonna happen, I buy 500 shares, we should have already broke right through that seller quickly. So if there's a lot of buying going through and the price is not moving up, then we know there's a hidden position, a hidden seller at that particular level. So what are the risks of buying into a hidden seller, right? What are the risks? Now, the number one factor is that you just don't know how many shares this individual or institution is trying to sell, right? And that's the problem, because if we can see the order, we can see the shares getting filled, we can know what to expect with resistance, right? But when it's a hidden order, you just don't know. And so it's like buying blind. You're buying hoping the move is going to happen despite not knowing how many shares are still left outstanding in the position. So it's a huge problem sometimes, right? Because some of them, I mean, the position sizes are huge, right? They're big positions, and it takes a real, it's like a real struggle to get over. It takes a lot of time to break through. So that's how you know that one is there. It's part of the risk of knowing that one is there, right? Hidden seller. For me particularly, if I have shares of in the trade already, and I feel like there is a hidden seller, if we don't break on that very first wave of green, I usually get out of the trade, because now there's just too much risk. Once again, going back to just not knowing how many shares are available. So I look to sell immediately if we don't break. I know some people might hold and see, because once again, if the order isn't too big, you can still get the push. But it's a bit of a gamble, right? We know we don't like to use that word when we talk about the market, but because you don't know how many shares are there, it's a bit of a gamble to just straight up buy into that level, right, and expect the move to happen. Because if that person or institution or algorithm, whatever it is, relentless potholes, whatever it is, could be selling 1 million shares, and you don't want to be buying into that kind of resistance. So those are some of the cons, right, when it comes to the hidden buyers and hidden sellers, right? Hidden sellers, more of a con, unless of course you're looking to go short, which I could see some people doing, but still is pretty risky, Because if you're thinking, hey, this thing is gonna drop, then of course it might not drop, because, you know, the seller might be a small seller and the stock breaks out. So going short into a hidden position for me is just, you know, going long or short, either or, is just really, really, really high risk, higher risk than usual. And so a hidden buyer is going to be the opposite of a hidden seller. So this is when we have a pretty big buyer on the bid with their order disguised, right? With their order disguised, someone saying, hey, I want to sell, you know, well, not sell, but excuse me, buy. Hey, I want to buy, let's say 150,000 shares, right? Somebody wants to buy 150,000 shares, but they don't want the open market to know how many shares they're buying, right? Because now a lot of people like myself, if I see a pretty big bid in a key area, I'm gonna take the long, right? I'm gonna take the long, and I'm gonna look to sell on that big buyer as support if we're already in a breakout spot. So if somebody doesn't want this price to be jumping up fast because of their position size, they can use that tactic. Hey, let me hide my order, let me hide the amount of shares I'm trying to sell, so that I don't influence the stock in any kind of a way that can negatively affect my position. And so that's how it kind of goes. And how will we know if there's a hidden buyer? If there's a lot of selling pressure coming in, if people are selling at or below, let's say at the bid, in this situation, at the bid, let's say the stock is at 550 on the bids, 551 on the ask, very tight spread, and we're seeing lots of sellers going through, but the price is not dropping, we know someone is buying up all those shares with a hidden order. You know, and once again, it could be 150,000 shares disguised as just 1,500 or maybe 15,000, 150 shares, whatever the case might be. But the individuals can disguise the order and look to capitalize. You know, best utilizing that tool. Some brokers will offer you that ability to buy hidden orders or not, depending on the broker you're at. And so for the trader, you want to best utilize that tool to help you with your position, especially if you're taking those big positions, once again, because there's no need to really use a hidden order if you're using a small position, right? It's all about the big positions. And so that's why I'll mention in this statement institutions as well, right? That's how it kind of goes. There's dark pools, which I think isn't necessarily, it's not going to tie in very closely to what a hidden order is, but I think it's worth mentioning for some of you out there who might not be familiar with that term. You know, you guys can look it up, dark pool trading, which is when companies trade huge amount of shares kind of like under the table, right? They do it like, should I say over the counter? Not over the counter, because that's more so like OTC, but let's say under the counter, right? It'll be, I think it's like company to company deals where they'll do, I mean, millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of shares, tens of millions of shares. I mean, I'm not sure if there's probably a few that probably went down for like 1 billion shares before. Who knows? Some of these companies and the amount of wealth that's in the market, right? 1/3 of the world's wealth passes through the stock market every day. So they exchange shares under the counter. I'm not going to speak too heavy on it because it's been a while since I read up those articles. But dark pools are pretty interesting as well. Doesn't quite fit in with what a hidden seller is, but worth mentioning when it comes to big shares being exchanged privately, right? So there's that, right? Hidden buyers, once again, the risk is pretty similar to hidden sellers, right? If I'm holding a position at a key level, let's say I'm holding a position at support. This is one way it could potentially help you. If I'm holding a position at support and there's a big hidden buyer, maybe I continue watching very closely to make sure my level holds. If not, of course, I want to get out of the trade. But it could work in that particular situation because we're already at support, VWAP, double bottom, triple bottoms, moving averages, trend lines, whatever it might be, and we see a hidden buyer. It's not a bad thing. But for me, in my experience, whenever a stock flushes down, well, hold on, let's go back. Whenever a stock breaks below a hidden buyer, it's usually a flush down, because so many people are selling at once at the position, trying to unwind shares sometimes, maybe take profits, that when the drop actually happens, there's a lot of slippage and a big flush. So that's what I've noticed in my experience with those particular trades off the lows. But you know, some of you guys might have different outcomes on those particular setups, right? But hidden buyers, I don't usually like buying into that level unless there is a key support, because once again, we just don't know how many shares that individual is looking to buy, right? So that's kind of how it goes with those particular setups. You know, if someone is going short and there's a hidden seller at a key level, then they might want to hold that short position a little longer just to see how it plays out. But they do affect the trades because they're big position sizes going through and moving. So yeah, I'm thinking if I'm missing anything here, right? Hidden buyers, hidden sellers. And so once you're watching the level 2 and you see all the selling on the bids, right, you'll definitely know as well. The charting might be a little bit harder to tell right away, right? But we definitely will see it on the level 2. So driving right now past the Barclays Center, downtown Brooklyn, and a lot of the traffic is okay, right? The traffic is okay, but the bad thing is the roads, man. The roads are absolutely terrible. I mean, these roads are just something else. Potholes. It's like, you would think, they claim New York City, you know, the wealthiest city on earth, I guess, with the stock exchange and all the other attractions, but I don't know, man. Let's see. Can I flip this, or is this gonna end the video? So I'm at a red light. Here we are, right in the Barclays Center, downtown Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, not bad, not a bad view, guys. But with that being said, be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and of course consider subscribing if you are new to the channel. It's been Relentless Trader. It's been a good video. I will catch you guys in the next one.